All right, kids. It's me, and I'm not trying to take the place of your dad, but I'm going to show you some dadly things. We're going to change the oil on this shit box. So let's go. Get out here. I was cold. I was doing stuff and got in the pockets. I can't change the. Oh, what is that? I don't even know what that is. How'd that get there? Oh, great, that's tangled. Get out of here, you. Okay. Oh. Yeah, we got these. Okay, so in the industry, we call these ramps because they're ramps, and it's faster and easier with most vehicles to put them up on ramps instead of getting the jack out and jacking off the car, jacking up the car, whatever it is that we think we're doing. But first, so we're a little close, so I'm going to go ahead and get the car on the ramps. So I'm going to back it up, then move the ramps. You'll see, it'll be fine. Okay, here we go. Alright, let's do that. Now we got plenty of room. These ramps up here. Bumper, get the ramps going. That's probably really good stuff. It'll be fine. Let's get in right more. Got on them. You didn't drive over them. That's good. It's not an off-road style vehicle. You want to go off-road or off-ramp. That. And then we can go ahead and go ahead and bring the hood up. Got the hood coming up. All right. I'll bring you over here in just a second, and I'll show you some stuff under here, and you'll learn all about that. But you know what? The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the garage and get some tools that we need. Okay, be right back. Back here, around the car. Let's tell the kids what we got. Okay. So, this is just a large set of channel locks that sometimes if the oil filler cap, which I'll show you in a minute, if it's stuck, this will help unstick it. This right here is an oil filter remover. You can use, there's the other apparatuses to use. I've got this one at Napa Auto Parts. I found it to be the best. You got a ratchet for the oil filter remover. You got 2 wrenches. The 9/16 is the one that actually fits on the bolt. Sometimes you need a little extra leverage, so I'll put another wrench on it. And then you have an outdoor cat right here, and this is my mechanics helper. Okay, here we go. So the next thing when you gotta go get a creeper so we can be creepy. Here we go. Okay. So, this right here is a creeper. Use it for rolling around. It helps you get out from underneath the car and underneath it better. There's only 2 other things we need. What I had to go get was what I purchased earlier. You're going to get your oil and your oil filter. Now, figuring out which one is which. They do have resources at most parts stores that'll help you figure that out. But if you're unsure, you can always ask the people that work there, and they're happy to help. Alright, so let's take a look under the hood and see what we got to do in there first. Alright, let's check it out. Okay, so let's take a look. Just look in here for a second, real. Okay, so you see, you got an idiot cover, so you can't really see the motor, but we can see the parts that we need. So what you want to do is crack the seal on your dipstick. You don't need to pull it all the way out. You just want to unseal it. This is that fill cap I was talking about. Now, sometimes you can see, this time we got it with our bare hands, but if it was too tight, we could have put this channel lock pliers on there and we could have gotten it loose. So we're going to go ahead and take that off. Now, the reason why we're doing that is because we want it to be able to vent when we drain the old oil out. Have to find a place. Find you a good place where you're not going to lose that thing. That's important. Something else we're going to do before we get finished, but I probably won't show you doing it, is I'm going to clean this oxidation off the battery, because that's really gross. I don't know, that wasn't like that last time. Okay, so now we can oh, I forgot one more tool. Let's go get, this time you can walk with me. Let's go get, we need a drain pan. We got to put the oil in something, right? So as you can see here, we got a drain pan and a funnel. So that's two tools, really, that I forgot to talk about. But you know what? We got there. It's fine. Okay. Now, if all this seems a little cumbersome, it's not that expensive to pay a professional to do this, and there's nothing wrong with that. I do it because I'm extremely cheap. Okay, so what we want to do is get the funnel someplace. We don't want it to pick up a bunch of dirt because we're going to use it to funnel the oil back into the motor. We don't want to put all that dirt in there, right? So let's find someplace to... I don't really have a really clean place, so we're just going to have to set it down somewhere that we can clean it up later. Okay. So we'll take our oil pan here. Just throw it up underneath there. Alright, now okay, so now we got we've got our oil pan directly underneath the oil reservoir. Okay, so all we got to do is drain the oil out of here. Now, the only thing that you can mess this up by doing is if you, some motors you can get to the transmission reservoir. You don't want to drain the transmission and then double fill the oil up, right? So you want to make sure you know what you're doing, what you're looking at, and you want to make sure that you're about to drain the oil. Okay, again, if you need help from a professional, because it's different from car to car. I believe on this one, this is the transmission oil fill. See, you got a drain plug right there, and it's different, but I've done this car so many times, I know that this is the one we're looking for. So let's get started. I'm gonna move some stuff around, so there might be a break in shots, but don't worry, we'll be right. Okay, so what I'm going to do is position the oil pan where it's directly underneath where the drain plug is going to drain the oil out. So that's what we're trying to do. Just catch the oil and not make a mess. Now the tricky part is going to be to get the drain plug off without getting the oil all over us. Now you usually break it loose and it won't start dribbling oil out. But the biggest folly that a lot of people make is that they get the oil to dribble out and it gets more so all over their hand, but it runs down their whole arm. That's what you don't want. Oh, I'm going to rearrange this drain pan so that it's draining downhill into the hole and it's going to fill it up. Now this time I did pretty good. It's all the oil I got on me, so that's pretty good. And so what we do here is we just let all the oil drain out until it's done draining. Which that sure didn't seem like a whole lot of oil, so that could be problematic, you know. It's an older car, we could be burning oil. I don't see any leaks where it's dripping on the ground or anything, so that's probably the case. Which is typical. You start getting seals getting older and it starts dribbling out into the combustion chamber and just burning it up naturally that way. With these older cars, as long as you just keep oil in it and then put fresh oil and a filter in it every oil change, you're usually okay. But yeah, we'll continue to let that drain until it's completely done. And then we'll put the drain plug back in it. Now at this point where it's just a wispy amount, we can probably go ahead and just close that off. Different engines will take different amounts of time depending on how much oil that they hold. This is a very small engine and a very small car, so it doesn't hold a lot of oil in the first place. Now, we're going to take our oil filter remover and put it on our 3/8 ratchet. This one may not have. Yeah, it'll be fine. Okay, and I want to show you this because this is a little different than some other cars that you might see out there. Okay, so this right here, that holds a cartridge. Okay, and I'll show you when I take it out. But basically, what we're going to do here is take our oil filter remover and put it on the thing right there so it's nice and snug. You see that? It's nice and snug. And then we're just going to unscrew it. Now it's plastic, so you want to be careful you don't break it. Because they're expensive to replace. They're not hard to replace, they're just expensive. Oh, seal broke. That may be where all of our oil was going when it was driving. It was seal on it bad. Now, there's going to be oil coming out of this too, so I just moved the oil pan to try to catch it. And sometimes it'll be a lot. The last oil change I did, it splashed on me. So I'm going to be real careful about this one. Just kind of ease it out. And gently let the oils just flow into the drain pan where we want it. Not make too many sudden moves. Alright, that was pretty good. Okay, I don't know. This thing looks like it might have been double sealed because this seal right here broke off the edge of it, but the cartridge itself has a seal on it, which I'll show you in a second when I bring it all out. to set up a plastic bag. Oh, we don't need is a sit down here with you. There's a plastic bag that our parts came in. So I can show you this. Okay. So this is a cartridge filter. It's different from what they call a spin-on oil filter because this part stays with the car. We're going to just pull the cartridge out just like that. And that's trash. We're going to open our new filter. See that? Nice and clean. And a new O-ring. You can take the old O-ring off right here. And they're not super tight. You don't have to be super gentle with them. And we'll just put the new O-ring on. You know, you don't want to stretch it like you would a rubber band. Like you see, I'm still trying to just kind of roll it on. You get it set in there, get a coat of oil on it. As far as I can tell, these filters aren't directional in any kind of way. So you just stick it on there like that. And that's rebuilt. Now we can take this and just screw it right back where we took the old one off. And while we're doing that, we can take our trusty. If you ever get rid of t-shirts, if you ever want to start doing work in your own garage, take all your t-shirts. Never give them away. You know, the Goodwill doesn't really need them. They get plenty of t-shirts. I cut mine up. If you work for a place and you don't want to work there anymore, and that's what this was an old work shirt that they used to give us. And once I don't work there anymore, you can't wear logos to different companies, or at least I don't feel like it's very professional. So I always cut mine up and use them as shop towels. They're real handy that way. Okay. Alright. Now we're just spinning this oil filter housing, this cartridge system, back into its receptacle, making sure that the other end of the cartridge is seated properly. And with the spin-on oil filter, they tell you just to put it on hand tight. But I'll tell you, these cartridge styles are the plastic is so snug that you really do need a tool to get it seated all the way down. However, you don't want to go any tighter than necessary, right? So you don't want to wrench down on it too hard. You just want to run it all the way down till it seats. Now you're going to find right here, like it stops. You don't need to put a bunch of pressure on it after it stops on its own. Okay, so the little bit of oil that's dribbled out onto the bolt and whatnot, we're going to wipe that up so it doesn't drip on our concrete. And so the bottom's sealed up, and the whole underside issue is pretty much done. Now, if you'll come up here, let's see if I can find a place to put you where you'll stay. Okay, so now that's really the hard part. Now all we got to do is fill her back up. We've got a new filter in there, got all the old oil out. You want to pull all your tools and everything out from underneath the car. That way that you don't run over them later. You don't want to blow a tire out. You want to do what's called a tool check and make sure that anything you laid down in the engine bay or anything like that that you found and you picked up, because you you don't want to close the hood on a tool and then have it rattle into the fan and then cause a whole bunch of trouble that way. So, what we're ready for now, we're going to take that funnel we got, and I want to make sure that there's no gritty debris from it sitting in the garage, no extra dirt. It's not going to be clean because all I use it for is funneling oil. But you want to get all the loose stuff, all the gross stuff, sawdust from any other projects that you're doing. Get all that stuff out of there. And you just put it in the hole. Take your manufacturer's recommended oil type and amount. You just fill that sucker back up. Now, this would be a good point too, once you've poured about a liter in there, to look underneath it and make sure that nothing's dripping out. Make sure that you haven't forgotten the drain plug. Which we're going to do again after we start it up and pressurize the oil system. But you know, I've never regretted double, triple checking something. Okay, now I'm going to show you this, because this is a pain in the butt in my opinion. Okay, so you see our funnel is in our fill tube right there. Now you got this 5 quarts of oil that you're trying to hold up. You have nothing to lean it on. And you can real easily overpour your funnel, right? So you're going to be there forever just filling that sucker up. But you don't want to get impatient with something like that, because while it's not detrimental if you dribble a little bit of oil down to the engine bay, I mean, oil, when it gets hot enough, it is flammable and it can be dangerous. You don't want to get on the belts or anything like that. Again, that's just more cross-contamination that you're trying to avoid with this whole thing. I mean, we're trying to clean out fluids of the car. We're not trying to sling them everywhere, right? So we're just going to be patient. Let the oil go into the car at its own pace, its own volition. So gentle, so calming, so nice. So anyway, you guys seen any good football games lately, or what's your favorite kind of beer? Are you old enough to be drinking beer? You ever had a beer with your dad? I'll tell you, that first beer with your dad, something special. I can still remember. Mine was a Corona with my dad, because he's a Corona man. Now, I've grown up later to be like a Miller High Life kind of guy, which, you know, he picks on me for, which is fine. That's just good old-fashioned, you know, father-son ribbing. The first beer is always spit. Anyway, so I'm done pouring the oil in. All right, you can sit there and try to get all the dribbles out, because oil's thick, right? So it's gonna have some try to stick to the inside of the bottle. What's the difference between 5 quarts and 4.9 quarts? Like, it's fine. Okay, so now we've got the oil in there. You're gonna pull your funnel out. Now, there's going to be oil stuck to the inside of this, just like the bottle. It's going to be trying to drain out of the funnel. It's going to want to make a mess. So, take your funnel, put that back in your drain pan. Don't forget to take your oil fill cap, put that back on. This is another one. It doesn't have to be super tight, hand tight. Just put it on, make it snug. And don't forget, we pulled our dipstick out, right? So we're going to want to reseat that. And now, before we started the car and circulated the oil, we can see where the oil is in the oil pan. When we do that, here, I'll show you from the beginning. So you stick the dipstick, you start with a clean dipstick, right? So when you start off doing nothing, you're gonna pull the dipstick all the way out with your clean rag, and you're gonna wipe the dipstick off. You're gonna put the dipstick in, all the way till it seats, and then take the dipstick back out. Then you're gonna check it. All right? You can see where some of the older oil is, where it's mixed in, some of the residue, but you want it, that is the full, oh, you can see that. There's these 2 holes. There's always hatching or 2 holes. There's a mark near the end of a dipstick that'll show you what's full and what's not. This is showing full, so we're good there. Now what we're ready to do, start the car up and get the oil pressure going, get everything circulating. So let me put the legs back down on the old tripod here. I'm wondering if I'm going to put this video out in like one long shot. Even me talking about the video and the shot seems highly unprofessional, but you know what? It's okay. Okay. So now we need to we're going to get our keys. Oh, we sat on our keys early and we locked the door. There we go. Now some cars you'll see have, in their gauge sets, they'll have actual oil pressure. Now this one doesn't. It has oil temperature and it's got fuel pressure. But you'll see my truck, when I change the oil in it, has oil pressure. And what's neat is when you change it, it's got to fill the oil filter up before the pressure can rise. Some people pre-fill their oil filters. I think that's whatever. I don't think you have to do that. Not in normal performance settings. But you'll see it, the engine will run for probably 1 full second, and then the oil pressure will jump up to where it's supposed to be. You don't see it in this one because we don't have a gauge for it. So what we want to do first, since we know that we've changed the oil, we're going to try to do everything all in one shot. We want to reset the maintenance meter, because when we turn it on, you'll see right there that there's a maintenance required. That just goes off of a timer that you can see over here. I don't know if you can see this number right there, but it says 5796. I was supposed to change it at 5,000 miles. I waited a little bit longer than I normally do, which is fine. I reset this one so that I know how close I am to getting it changed, because this just cycles over on the odometer every 5,000 miles. So what we want to do is reset that. Now they're a little bit different from style to style. So this one, I think you want it to start at the ODO, which is just the standard odometer. And then you press in the selector button. And you turn it on. You don't have to turn it, you don't have to crank the car. No, so it's not ODO. It's trip A. We'll push it in, hold it, turn the car to on, but not start it. You can see it timing down right there. And then, bam. That just reset the maintenance. So that's not going to come on anymore. We'll reset this tripometer. And now, we'll start the car. Okay. So now that we've restarted the car, we want to make sure we've brought the system under pressure. We're listening to it for anything that's different and abnormal. This old beater sounds like a pile of shit because it's an old beater. That's okay. Nothing's new. And then we'll look down here. I don't see anything dripping, do you? You can look at the oil pan, look around the filter. And you might, if you didn't, that's why it's important to wipe those off after you've replaced them to get that last little bit of residue of the old oil off, because you don't want to see that and think that it's dripping. So we know we cleaned those, so we don't see any drips, so we're good. So now we're done. All we have to do now is take it off the ramps, which is just putting it in reverse and backing straight off the ramps, parking it, and putting our tools up. How fun was that? Now, if you enjoyed this fatherly advice, I sure would love a like, a comment, maybe even a subscribe, because this isn't video games. It's probably not what you expected when you came on my channel, but it is what it is. I've been AJ this whole time. I'll see you on the next one. Bye now.